Alex, the founder of Aino. Very pleased to have you on the Geospatial Index. Could you tell us about the reason for the name?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me today. The story behind the name is that we were watching a TV series about Alvar Aalto. Maybe you know, there's a world famous architect from Finland. So he built a lot of amazing modernist architecture all around the world.
Okay.
And he had a pretty nice, pretty amazing company, Artec. And he worked a lot with his wife. And his wife had name Aino. That nobody knows about Aina, but she did a lot of work for him. But she always were like in a shadow of his fame. And yeah, and it sounds amazing. And yeah, and it's like a Maria in, I don't know, in Europe. So Aina is the same popular name for Scandinavian countries. So yeah, that's why we took this name. Yeah, we had no any ideas how to work with AI, but that matched somehow that AI is inside the Aino.
Right. Already giving us an education about architecture and popular names in Scandinavia. We're straight into the thick of things here. Good. And I suppose, given that this is kind of an AI assistant for urban planners, the idea is continuing how she functioned in their relationship, perhaps. Is that the point of the name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then, at the risk of sounding too cliched, maybe it's a good time to talk about the elevator pitch for Aino then.
Yeah. What is Aina? So today, we changed a lot our vision, but today Aina is a copilot for spatial data work. So this is a tool that helps not technical people who have to work with data, but who don't really know how to do it. So and Aina just help such kind of people to operate with the data, to gather it, to analyze it, to map, to filter, and to present it in the most convenient ways, like maps for sure, but also in charts and full reports. We know we generate full reports. Yeah, and I was working on urban consultancy, and I was such kind of not technical guy who used to ask a lot of questions to our data engineers, like, "Hey guys, could you help me, please? I need to build a map with the 10 bus stops in the neighborhood by tomorrow morning." And I was always upset with it because I could not handle the processes in my project. In my projects, yeah, and this is how I came up with the idea. Okay, why do I need to ask them every time? Why? It's not so complicated task. We'll have to find some, I don't know, easy solution for people like me. And yeah, and this is like a story why we start working on Aina in few months.
It reminds me of the promotional video that you have on your website, where literally you're typing in the words, you know, what are the bus stops within 2,000 meters of a point?
Yeah, we start with some pretty simple tasks, like to gather data and to map it. And this is the first wow effect that you might see as a no professional in GIS. Yeah, and we faced many interesting questions from a professional community who try to, you know, every time people try to break your product. So, and they ask complicated questions, and they ask they try to get a huge data sets. So, and we're in such situation, and one guy asked us, "Okay, I can do it manually. That's okay, because I was trying to find all trees in Denmark, and your AI didn't respond me well." Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we're working on it, but however, how often do you need to map all trees in the whole country for your projects? So
I'd like to know how many trees there are in Denmark. That sounds like big data. Definitely.
Yeah, that's not a big data, but just to download it, you need to spend like 10 minutes, for instance,
Right.
and you are just sitting and waiting, and you don't really understand, is it okay or not? Is it, yeah? And sometimes you have like timeout errors for huge data sets. So
Okay, cool. So I mean, you're the fifth AI-based geospatial company I can say that I've had on the podcast. What we started with bettermaps.ai, which is run by Pablo Viejo in Spain as well. And he had basically a natural language interface and semantic search and all these things to, make a map of where Shakespeare was born. That was a classic sort of query he had. And then what else? We had text to map, which was a really simple travel-based mapping system where you could make an itinerary of, nice places along the coast of Spain, for example, sticking with Spain as the theme. We had the UX designer or lead for Ordnance Survey in the UK, and he came up with a similar system to you.
he is a really, really nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Atwell. He's amazing.
He's a
Yeah. And then we had Melinda, I think her name was. She was the co-founder of proxy.co, and they got mapsgpt.com, the best domain name ever. Damn them. And we talked about that. So, but all of them, they seem to just be, it's like natural language assistant for analysis and putting things on a map. So it seems like there's a niche that's appearing. Do you have what's your angle to somehow dominate the niche or to find a niche within that niche? Is that even what you're thinking about?
Yeah, you just mentioned very different products. So to be honest, some of them are mostly about, some of them are like a B2C product, like proxy, as I know. So, and some of them are in just in a prototype phase. What our idea is, so firstly, we don't look a lot to our competitors because most startups failed by suicide rather than lost because of the competition.
Sure.
So,
self-inflicted wounds, you mean?
And to be honest, our vision is not just in building API over GPT, for instance. We designed a new user experiences that we believe in it. And we used to say, so we don't sell data. We build the new way how people can interact with spatial data, with the global data. And this is why we built our search engine, search spatial engine, you name it. So it's like a search
spatial search engine. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So based on the AI. And this is the small bar where you can type whatever you want in plain language. You can drag and drop files. You can draw something on a map, copy this, just like Command C and input in Command V. You can use global search that already inbuilt in it, and it could work with your project's data, with global data sets, with different. So, and this is a way how you can build small natural language scripts that might answer all your questions. So, and our idea is to build the product opposite to QGIS. When you have a bunch of buttons, we start with a small question to ourselves: why do people need to click on them? What the question behind it? So, and this is this is what our product is about. And now we build our web application, but we are mostly focusing on API-based service for enterprises. And we don't care what solution what interfaces will they use. Our system built transform text into queries and send it back. So, and this is our vision. We have like a plugin for QGIS, for instance, and plugin for Google Spreadsheet is the most powerful database ever. So, and this is the way how we develop our product. Yeah. And also, every product in this emerging market is targeting to different users groups. So, and we mostly focusing on B2B and for not technical people in B2B. Now we have a lot of technical guys who are trying our product, but our core user group is not technical managers, I don't know, urban planners. And what also interesting, what we believe that many new professions appear today. So in an environmental management, you have lawyers, you have environmental designers, you have I don't know, managers, and a lot of people.
And biodiversity net gain is specialists. That's a huge theme these days, especially in the UK. Yep.
Yeah, and all of them have to work with spatial data, but they will never work in QGIS, and we have to build something for them. So
right,
and this is where we are going. So
good. Excellent. You've answered two of my questions in one there. You've also covered the ideal customer, and you've started to talk about how you're going or moving backwards from their needs. Do you have any more comments about how you're identifying customer needs or ensuring that that is the primary focus of what you do at Aino?
It's good for us that we start from ourselves. So me personally, you have to be honest to yourself when you build something from scratch. So, and for me, would I use such kind of tool in my consultancy life when I was working a few years ago? So, and I built it for myself. I know the whole customer journey from data gathering to data preparation, analysis, and then exporting into something. So, and this is why we start from ourselves. And this is how we just easy gather a few early adopters from urban planners.
Yeah.
And this is how we are scaling from urban planning to different other niche. Now we have clients and leads in retail, real estate, and other businesses related to spatial analysis. However, we start with from this.
That's very interesting. I would love to see a natural language interface on a real estate website, because it's such a pain to put in, use all the filters and drop downs, and
yeah. That's
I can't believe that hasn't been done yet, to be honest.
The biggest problem for this emerging market, it doesn't matter what emerging market specifically is about, that your clients, they don't understand the problem. So you have to show them that, okay, this is a problem for you, and we have a solution how to make it better. So, and this is the most difficult part for us when we talk with the new prospects, explaining them that you might have such a co-pilot for your, I don't know, marketing manager, for instance, who have to describe the space every time for the new users on their websites. Or you might have like a co-pilot for your managers who talk a lot with potential investors. Or that might be like a AI generative reports for investors group who are in search of specific location. So, and why we really love to build something in the emerging market. Nobody care about the quality and competition. You can, if you provide something new, you might be successful into it. And this is why we work a lot today. So I don't know how much time do you need to prepare this talk, but we are working on a public project to let anyone to try it and to understand how it might work. We are working on AI generative reports. So because to create map, it's not a solution. So nobody cares about maps, to be honest. GS people,
I'm so offended.
because GS people usually have to answer their clients' questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, how many, I don't know, how many people live in this area? How many children will use such, I don't know, kindergarten or something? And this is the result. And this is why our users used to ask us, map is so nice, but I would like to have an explanation of it, the description of it. And
the
this is like
interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is much more harder rather than create a beautiful maps.
Yeah, sure. In the end, it's the answer to the question. That comes from the map. Okay, so you mentioned kind of starting off with your own urban planning consulting background, and that you had some early adopters who were colleagues, I guess, from that field. You said that you were branching out into real estate and some other types of businesses. So this relates to the speed of growth, and if your customers are staying with you, how are things in terms of growth and stickiness?
It's not sticking yet, and we're working on it, and we're waiting for it. We have thousands of active users already.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
in
have
1 year, or how long did it take to get?
In a month. So
a month?
In a monthly basis. Yeah.
Per growth of 1,000 per month?
No,
or who
no.
stay active users per month? Okay.
People who use your product and month by month. So, but we were almost flat before, I don't know, the February, and before we launch our text to query feature, where you can ask, I don't know, something about the data you uploaded to your product to filter it. So, and we spend what was good. So we spend nothing on marketing. So people just are curious about our product, even it failed a lot of times. So they just, and our register form is terrible, and it's so slow, and you cannot work with the big data sets, and you can, and now you can, but last month you even can ask something complex into your prompt bar. So, however, people are interested in such kind of projects, and they register and test it. And yes, and some of them stayed with us. And and we keep growing. And now we are looking for partnerships with the influencers. People, we want them to share our products through their community.
That sounds really interesting. Okay, I've come across other podcast guests who also are looking for partnerships with influencers. So yeah, that's something of interest to me too. So long as I can, be influential. All right. So I guess stepping back a bit, why have you chosen to replace the computer mouse with a natural language interface?
Yeah, that's really interesting question. I think that's quite philosophical, because what actually modern AI did for all of us, it changed the behavior how we work with computer programs. And to be honest, a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago, 1 year, everyone hated chatbots. They were terrible, so annoying, and nobody trusts them. And why? And this were so they didn't have enough functionality. They were not flexible for most use cases, and they were no scalable at all. But today with ChatGPT, and other APIs, AI-driven APIs, it's changed a lot. And I think human behavior and computer-human interaction changed rapidly because of ChatGPT. People used to type about 50 to 60 prompts to ChatGPT every day. So, and that's like a statistic I found. That okay,
Interesting.
I found. Yeah, but anyway.
How many people were doing that out of interest? Is that like 500 million people, or?
I don't remember, but okay, it's about 10 million of users every day. So it's
Wow.
kind of like this. So, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And we think that for young professionals, ChatGPT is like a basic and essential tool.
Yeah.
And for us, why do we need to create something that already existed and out of date? We have to go to the next stage, and let's see how far we can go. We have no we have no we have a vision, but we don't know are we will we will we be successful with it or not. So but now it works pretty well, because when you mix the new way of interaction and QGIS type of interaction with copying, clipping, working with layers, that makes sense. That helps users a lot. So, and what's good that they need about 30 seconds and maybe one try to understand how the system works, and that's good as well. So you don't need to spend you don't need to spend months or hours, months of in YouTube looking through guidance from other people how to build I don't know isochrons around your locations.
Sure, there's a lot of things to say here. So it feels like there's a fundamental shift in what software is structured around. Now there is an emerging expectation that every piece of software we use is functions as close as possible to a human assistant. You can socialize with it. You can talk with it if you like. There's a responsive language output or interaction rather than just point and click. So it's almost like and I liked your emphasis on the younger generation or the young professionals now. There's going in the next 5 years, or basically everybody who's emerging from university over the next couple of years. That maybe not the next couple of years. Let's say within the next 5 years, you will essentially move between co-pilots. You won't move between different software packages.
Now
Sure.
The new name, like a next step for copilots. I don't know, people name it agents.
Right. Okay. So I'll start using that term. That's what this podcast is about for me to keep up with. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, and I just wanted to say another thing. So you're the third guest on the podcast. So Felt was the last interview. I haven't published that one yet. But they've developed a QGIS plugin. You've developed a QGIS plugin. And GIS Carter, I interviewed another Alex Korolev, the founder and CEO of GIS Carter. They also have a QGIS plugin. So that's another pattern that's emerging.
Yeah, they don't have AI. They don't have AI into it. And as I know, we are the only one. I might be wrong, but okay, we are the only one who built the AI-driven plugin for data gathering in QGIS.
Okay. If I could say, I could be wrong, but I was under the impression when I started looking at this a year ago that there was a QGIS plugin for ChatGPT somehow.
Yeah, but they solve different tasks. They help you they helped you to build scripts.
Okay.
Into this Python panel in QGIS.
So it's just a help manual for QGIS.
Yes, right, and we are focusing on working with data, only in working with data. So we try to help people do not care about the data at all. This is how
Okay, cool. All right. So I guess getting on to what you're talking about, what actually Aino does. So how does it convert language about distance to buildings and their heights, for example, into a map?
That's a good question. And this is be the technical one. So, but in general, we don't use only ChatGPT behind that. So we don't use GPT. API behind Aino. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what kind of LLM do you actually use. But we have a system and pipeline of different language models, and we have like a huge one who understand the task, who make like a text analysis and text understanding. And this is like a general manager who is talking to like junior GC engineers and delegate task to them. Well, and this is how it works. And we also
so there are assistants for assistants.
yeah, that's good for this stage, but we are really focusing on building our own model. And what's good there is you don't really need to build something huge like GPT is. And there are a lot of open source models that you can use for such kind of tools. Yeah, and we are this is our direction, and and our vision to build our own as well. So that sounds like not a big deal, to be honest, today. That sounds like complicated and scary, but yeah, that's possible.
So it's sounding like there's an emerging discipline of AI architecture or co-pilot architecture, especially if there's one that performs an executive function and then sends queries to specialist co-pilots, if you like, and assembles everything back. So yeah, sounds like architecture is important there too.
Yeah. And most fails and like the problems are this is the same that people actually have. The most problems and fails that we have in our system is also between the different agents and managers. Right. When something when someone or something does not understand the task correct. So yeah. And this is why your system might fail.
Sure. We were talking about Steve Atwell, the UX lead at Ordnance Survey in the UK, and we got under the hood a bit when we talked, and he said that essentially what ChatGPT was being used for was to convert his natural language prompts into overpass turbo queries. Is that partly what's going on with your system?
So is that?
He said that ChatGPT for his implementation at Ordnance Survey was being used to convert natural language prompts into overpass turbo queries for OpenStreetMap. Is that something that's being done by you as well?
Yeah, but we have different data sources, not only OpenStreetMap. And we have a Microsoft building footprints data set. Yep. Maybe you heard about it. And we have many others, municipality data from different cities. And it doesn't matter. But to solve the task of gathering OpenStreetMap, this is an essential. You have to have it into your product, and it doesn't matter how do you do it. So
okay.
But the coolest part is not to gather the data, is to filter it while mapping. So you can find trees, you can find forests and building footprints, but it's cooler to find like something like cafes that works after 8 p.m., for instance, and it find it and it understand it, and why it's cool to use AI for such tasks is because you don't need to be so specific that you have to be into your like SQL queries. So you may ask something like more abstract and let AI understand where to gather it. And this is why we have a different data sets, where to gather it, and what specifically is the most relevant. So
fascinating. So I mean, overall, what it seems to be offering is that you don't have to hire someone who's spent 6 years doing a bachelor's and then a master's, who understands overpass turbo queries, who understands SQL, who understands how to use Azure, and can go and create all of these queries in all of these data sets and return something sensible back to you. It seems like we're at the point where we can have a co-pilot that effectively has this training. I mean, it doesn't, but it can perform in a way like someone, not completely as well as perhaps, but like someone who has this training. But then you talked about, I got the impression that maybe the AI can merge or join different data sets to answer a question.
Yeah, and that's the coolest part. So because
and you don't have to instruct it how to do that.
That works pretty well, and we do it manually for enterprises because they are really interesting, mostly in secure of the data.
Security is important. Yeah.
Yes, for them.
IP. Yep.
So, and why it's cool to use AI for such tools, because AI can look through the data schema and look through the structure of the whole data set, database, and that's all that AI needs. And it understands what is behind every table. And then when you ask, AI understands that, okay, it's better to find the answer in this table and in this table. And this is why we firstly, after OpenStreetMap, integrate with Microsoft Building Footprints, because OpenStreetMap has a lot of lacks and problems with the in Brazil, for instance, or Latin America, and Microsoft Footprints covers pretty well. So, and when you ask them to the data related to specific territory, AI decides. And that's cool. That's cool.
Wow, that's really amazing.
And this is how it works for enterprise companies data sets. So we fine-tune our AI for the data, and this is how it works for the whole structure. It doesn't matter how big it is.
Sure. Okay. So there's a couple of questions or a couple of directions I want to go in from here. And there's a question about the ROI that you offer for enterprises. But I just wanted to relate what you're talking about to another guest. There's a guy, the CEO of Spatial Risk Systems in Manhattan, Ken Zockel. And I interviewed their chief scientist a few episodes ago, Alex Vengorovsky. There's a lot of Alexes that come up from Russia. It's really interesting, although he was from Ukraine, actually. Anyway, so what Ken is often posting about on LinkedIn is knowledge graphs and how they are really important for a way to structure your organization's data to make them usable by an AI. So have you heard of that concept of a knowledge graph?
Not really. I think it's better to ask our data scientists.
Right.
Maybe they. I don't have an answer, to be honest. But what the project you are talking about?
It's called Spatial Risk Systems. I mean, they also it's in the area of spatial finance, which always in any conversation of spatial finance I have found often ends up talking about building footprints. And it's interesting to hear that it's a theme here for you, and of course for urban planners, it's a theme. So I feel like this podcast is all about, what's popular and what everyone's talking about. So I'm taking note there. But it seemed like the terms you were using and the concept you were describing, even though you might not use the terms knowledge graph, it seemed to reflect what he was saying. It's a way that an AI can understand and look across all of the tables or the relational structure, and make its own decisions, if you like, on what is the best field in a given table, amongst others, to assemble in a query to return a result. So yeah. Anyway, okay, interesting. All right. So yeah. So you were talking about how your enterprise offers a 5x return on investment. What evidence do you have?
That's a wrong number. To be honest, we are working on the new landing page on our website, and 5x it's not enough. 5x was based on a calculation how much money can you save on hiring data engineers.
Yeah.
But it's now we understand that automation, when you generate not only the mapping stuff, something, but also on analysis and report generation, that it's much more than 5x in ROI. That's about 50, really. It's
Wow.
it's kind of like this. The biggest problem here and the biggest challenge is to find the relevant use case for this. And I think we found something for real estate and for micromobility companies, for instance, and for people who are interested in site analysis in different ways. So we're mostly focusing only on one task, on site analysis for enterprises. So we help them to analyze their sites, competitors' sites, and something in between. So the 5x is not the big number. That's a long number.
Okay, sure. But a way to begin to understand the return on investment you were saying is, for example, that you have to hire less staff or less expensive stuff.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the company. So we're focusing on end users. So the people who build maps manually, who used to do it. However, we have 3 main options. When we're talking about freelancers, we help them to create maps easily and faster. If you talk about SME, small businesses, for instance, we help them not to hire data engineers at all.
Yeah.
For instance, they have data analysts who knows how to calculate something, and they need to visualize it, and we need to filter it, so not so complicated. We help them not to hire data engineers. And for enterprises, we help them to grow faster, to scale faster.
Yeah.
And if they are not sure that scaling, like hiring a lot of new people, that's the best choice in this particular situation. So it depends.
Right. But it's just interesting to hear your honest statements about how people's jobs are being. It sounds bad, right? I don't mean to say, but it's like, honestly, this is about less people are being hired to do this type of thing. Of course, there are other jobs for them, but
I really believe data engineers are secured because we need more than
they're secured until someone makes another Copilot for the Pacific. So it's like running away from the Copilot.
I know most engineers are mostly interested in solving more complicated stuff rather than mapping bus stops and calculate isochrons and 5-minute walk distances. So, and yeah, we are really interested in build something more complex for them. For instance, to let them to fine-tune the model for their companies, or to inbuild the plugins, or to inbuild the, special functions, something really interesting for developers. So, and that's why I believe this is like not really intelligence work that we are trying to automate. That's good for them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's almost like it's the grads or the interns or the first year like employees that maybe you are
junior specialists, they are.
Yeah, you are offering the chance for them to do more engaging work. We'll put it that way. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So what extra data management steps are required so Aino can use a data set in an analysis? Do I just give it access to the SQL Server database and away we go, or is there some preparation of that database before it can be used?
If I got a question right, so You're asking about how do we.
So I'm an enterprise and I sign up for a license for Aino. In the next 5 minutes, can Aino start to make maps from my spatial database, or is there some 1 month of preparation to create some sort of model that it can traverse my data?
We charge some money for fine-tuning AI for enterprises, just to be sure that it's accurate as possible, that it covers the whole use cases. So, and this is just a manual work for us as a manager, not as the engineers, just to be sure that everything is fine. And right after this, you can run Aino for your data sets. So we integrate manually with the data sets, but we never ever store any data.
No,
that's real. So the only need is just to receive the query from, receive the text and send back a query to the enterprise, to the client of application. So, and yeah, in general, that works like this. However, it's pretty flexible. You can just drag and drop whatever you want to the Aino, and you can start working this as well. And then to show result,
So by drag and drop, do you mean you drag the database credentials and then it will use that to go and explore and understand this database schema itself, or do you have to somehow feed that?
To understand the schema, we have to do it manually. So when we work with every enterprise face-to-face,
Okay, so you will need to spend some time with a DBA, and you will need that DBA to be disciplined in maintaining the schema or the entity relationship diagram, if you like.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah. For enterprises, it works like this, and to be honest, they have enough time to wait. That's not a problem for them. So security and accuracy is much more relevant. So that works like that.
Okay. All right. Cool. I was just wondering if there was that extra table about Aino, or an extra field in each table or something that's needed, or anything like that. But okay, sounds relatively straightforward. Okay. So then, what's the most impressive or unexpected use of Aino spatial analysis functions you've seen so far?
We delivered the complex prompt feature. This is the way when you can ask something complicated, like calculate the density of bus stops in within 200 meters around the public squares in the
around the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
It's so that's like a complex, and you just click go and you see how AI step by step create layers. First it found Sagrada Familia, then it found the buffer zone, then it finds something into it, and then it calculated, and then it built like a visualization presenting the density. And you see how it goes, and that's amazing. That's amazing that you could like just have the whole analysis in 5 minutes. So if it's not failed, you can build such kind of analysis in 5 minutes, and that's amazing. That was we are most focusing right now, because users' expectation of AI are so high today already. So, and they're waiting for that they can ask about whatever they want about any location in the world, and AI will build nowadays for them like this. So, and this is the direction we're working. And that's amazing. What else? I don't know, to discover when AI analyze your data better than you expected. So when you find something about greenery and you expect it to have like a mapped trees, but it also found urban forests and I don't know, any kind of greenery, for instance, and you have a whole picture of but you asked just for something pretty simple. Yeah, so I don't know.
So
Every,
yeah, it can develop the question or anticipate that you might have deeper questions, or
it understands the semantic. So yes, understand the semantic behind your data, and that's interesting. So,
fascinating. Okay, so I mean, I've got there's a common thread through some of my interviews I've done, especially with organizations in the US, because there's the possibility of some more high-speed rail being built in the US, and a common thing for geospatial analysts to do is a site selection or optimal path analysis, or even optimal network assessment, which is even more interesting. But to get anywhere with that, you have to do a multi-criteria analysis or a constraints assessment with many, many, many different data sets, and you weight them all and you sum them all into one surface, and then you can run an algorithm across that surface to, find your optimal site or path or network. So is Aino able to begin to do those kinds of analyses and define optimal paths?
Today it's not possible to find the optimal path. However, we developed and we fine-tuned AI to understand few essential GIS analysis tools like clipping, intersection over union, and dissolving. So and this works well. But
this is similar to Felt, because Felt recently released a whole bunch of new same ones.
Really enjoyed. They built an amazing product. Yeah, and I looked through this list and I asked myself, why do I need to do such kind of analysis? What's the use case? And I understand, okay, delivery company, they have to understand like just territory for their bunch of locations.
This is a catchment zone. Yeah. That's another, especially on a network, it's really interesting to calculate catchments for certain walk times or ride times.
And we train AI to answer such not specific questions like what is the territory for my business. So an AI will predict what the best way to understand it. Really.
So Aino can do this.
Yeah, and this is the way how we try to to have the next step over GIS analysis tools to understand the use case. It might be it will be fail a lot of time while we're working on it, but we would like to help people to get answers.
Okay, so this, I'm sorry, but I keep relating this to other guests that I've talked to, but this is honestly, so this relates then to Chris Brown and the second episode, which was, well, so he's kind of like an OG geospatial entrepreneur, and his first main sort of web mapping system was Mango Maps. And funnily enough, one of his main customers is actually a gym chain. Like, you wouldn't expect that gyms would care about GIS, but catchment areas for gyms are important. And he said it's similar to what you're saying, that they had a non-technical person who was in a management position who needed to make decisions about positioning the best, gym location for the gym based on. So it sounds like what you've got is a competitor to his system then.
Maybe.
With an AI-driven kind of solution. So
I think our main competitors, to be honest, are consultancy agencies who charge a lot of money for products and for governments and for businesses. Helping them to, for such kind of analysis.
For optimal siting analysis. Yeah, so Mango Maps was Chris's first one, and it's mapstack.io is the latest one. So, okay, yeah, you're right. And yeah, so Aino is coming for highly paid consultants. Okay, all right. Watch out. Good. Okay, so then that's a nice segue into the last question. So how are you fostering growth of the next generation?
We believe in them.
You believe whilst taking away the jobs for interns.
Okay.
What does an intern do at Aino then? Or have you taken away their jobs too?
I don't know why. No. So we believe in them, and we work a lot with educational institutions already. I don't know why they found us extremely helpful for them, and they invite us for workshops, and I don't know. And maybe we will be like somewhere in the in the ground. I don't know how to say it. Because before the next generation of analysts will appear in the market. So, and because the whole user experience that they will expect it for, it's like chat-based systems. And now, yeah, we're working with them that in 1 or 2 years to see them as our users. And we don't believe in 40 years old, well-educated
that's me.
engineers in enterprises. We can never. You will always do your work better than we can. However, for 20 years old people who used to work globally, I would like to test something in Fiverr or Upwork. And there are a lot of GS engineers, pretty young, not well, who charge not so much money, trying to engage them and to test Aino with them to see how it might help for them. We are mostly enterprises in general because they have money.
You can also have Aino on Upwork or Fiverr or Fiverr, as you say, as like a fake human worker and see how much people would pay it.
Yeah, so that just might be a growth hack for us.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's see.
Great. Well, that was a really interesting overview, Alex. I appreciate I feel like I'm really keeping up with trends. With all of the points you made. So yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for having me today. That's what a big pleasure to talk with you. And to answer all your tricky questions.
Cool. I'm glad they were tricky. So it's Aino, Aino.world.
Yeah, Aino.world.
Okay. Is there anywhere else people should keep track of you?
My personal LinkedIn. I don't know why that works pretty well. That's the only channel that we use for communication with our prospects.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, I'll put that in the show notes, needless to say. And yeah, great to chat again, Alex.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I wish you a good day.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
You too.